It was a Monday afternoon when 17-year-old Sarah Lee disappeared. She was just walking home from her high school in Arlington, Texas, a typical day for her. Except it wasn't. Local jogger, Kevin, saw her near the park looking at her phone. He waved. She waved back. That was the last time anyone saw her. When Sarah didn't return home that evening, her parents called the police. It wasn't like her to stay out late. The next few days were a blur of missing persons reports, volunteers searching the area, and rumors. The town was on edge. Kevin, the jogger, became one of the primary witnesses, but his statement was odd. "I didn't see anything unusual. She was just texting on her phone when I waved." But Kevin was the last person to speak to Sarah. He knew something he wasn't telling. The case went cold. There were no suspects, no motive, no leads. Until 3 days later, an anonymous tip led police to the edge of a nearby creek. A small silver necklace was found tangled in the underbrush. Sarah's necklace, but no body. Instead, the creek ran silent, almost too silent. The investigation went colder. Then, Kevin disappeared. Was he behind Sarah's disappearance? What did he know? Why won't he talk to the police? Or was he just a witness, caught up in a nightmare he couldn't wake up from? In the quiet confines of her bedroom, 17-year-old Sarah Lee was getting ready for another ordinary day at school. Little did she know this day would become the last day of her ordinary life. 9 a.m. rolled around, and after saying goodbye to her mom and dad, she headed off to school. As she walked past the familiar park on her way, she noticed a boy sitting on a nearby bench. He smiled at her, a polite acknowledgement of their daily routine. She returned the smile. He waved. She waved back. His name was Kevin, and he was a regular jogger in the neighborhood. Later that day, during a break between classes, Sarah found herself scrolling through social media when she came across a picture posted by Kevin. It was a picture of her, captured unknowingly while she was walking home from school earlier that day. How did he take it? Who was he? Suddenly, the innocent wave and smile took on a slightly uneasy tone. Was it just a coincidence or something more sinister? As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the town, Sarah decided to take the longer route home. She wanted to avoid the park where she had spotted Kevin earlier in the day. However, fate had other plans. On this day, fate had a cruel sense of irony. Sarah's path took her right past the very same park she had been trying to avoid. As she rounded the corner, there he was, Kevin, sitting on that same bench. He was smiling, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Their eyes met. He stood up, his smile widening, and Sarah felt compelled to respond. She managed a weak smile back. Kevin began to approach her, and in a moment of panic, Sarah pulled out her phone, pretending to be engrossed in a call. She hoped this would discourage Kevin, but it only seemed to encourage him. He continued walking towards her, his pace quickening. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she turned to walk away. She needed to get out of this situation fast. But Kevin was persistent. He matched her pace easily, and soon they were walking side by side. He kept talking, his voice a smooth but unsettling presence by her side. Sarah tried to shake him off, but nothing worked. Finally, as she neared her home, Kevin made his move. He lunged for her, his grip tightening around her mouth, stifling her scream. Sarah struggled, her nails scratching at Kevin's face as she fought against his overwhelming strength. But it was no use. Soon, her struggles weakened, and the last thing she remembered was the blinding headlights of a car speeding away into the darkness, taking her with it. Kevin parked the car a few blocks away from Sarah's house, making sure to keep a safe distance from the crime scene. With Sarah securely in his possession, he was confident that the police would never find her. For Kevin, this wasn't just a crime of passion, it was a carefully orchestrated plan. He had been watching Sarah for weeks, studying her routine, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He had chosen Sarah not just because she was beautiful, but because she represented a purity that he wanted to possess. Now, as he looked down at her sleeping form, a twisted sense of satisfaction filled him. He had her all to himself. The morning after Sarah disappeared, a search party was formed. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers joined together, combing through the park and the surrounding areas. Each passing hour brought with it a surge of anxiety and despair as the hope of finding Sarah alive began to dwindle. Amongst the crowd was Kevin, his face etched with concern. He spoke to the investigators, providing details of the last time he had seen Sarah. But his eyes betrayed him. They spoke of a secret he was hiding, a secret that could shatter the fragile fabric of the town. As the days turned into a week, the initial shock gave way to grim determination. The police pursued every lead, no matter how small, while the community rallied together, determined to find Sarah. Kevin, however, grew increasingly agitated. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that his secret was in danger of being exposed. He began to panic, wondering how long he could keep up the charade. Kevin decided to flee the town. He packed a bag, changed his clothes, and drove away from the only home he had ever known. He left behind the life he had once known, hoping to start anew somewhere far away. However, the past has a way of catching up, and Kevin's journey was far from over. As the days turned into weeks, the search for Sarah Lee intensified. Every possible scenario was explored, every lead investigated, but the mystery of her disappearance remained unsolved. The police were desperate for a breakthrough, the community was on edge, and in the midst of it all, Kevin was silently suffering. The weight of his secret was crushing him, the fear of discovery gnawing at his sanity. But fate had a cruel twist in store. A minor car accident tipped off the police to Kevin's whereabouts. He was brought back to the town where it all happened, and there, amidst the familiar streets, his nightmare began anew. Upon his return, Kevin found himself in the center of the police investigation once again. The officers questioned him, their eyes sharp, their voices probing. Every word he uttered was scrutinized, every pause analyzed. Kevin, on the other hand, was losing his grip on reality. The guilt and fear were eating away at him, turning his every waking moment into a torment. He tried to convince himself that it was all in his head, that Sarah was out there somewhere. But deep down, he knew the truth. As the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, the police were closing in on Kevin. The evidence against him was mounting, leaving him with no room to escape the truth. The once charming and charismatic Kevin began to unravel. His demeanor changed, becoming withdrawn and agitated. The facade he had carefully constructed was crumbling, revealing the monster that lay beneath. The police searched Kevin's belongings, hoping for a clue, anything that could connect him to Sarah's disappearance. What they found was a small, almost insignificant detail, a piece of clothing that had brushed against Sarah the last time she had seen her. This seemingly minor piece of evidence was the final piece of the puzzle. The game was up. Kevin's elaborate charade was about to come crashing down. In the cold, hard light of the interrogation room, Kevin finally broke. Confessing to the heinous crime was a mix of relief and despair. The burden he had carried for so long was finally lifted, but the price he had to pay was immeasurable. His confession echoed in the sterile room, a testament to the dark secrets that can lurk beneath a seemingly normal exterior. The town was shaken. News of Kevin's confession spread like wildfire. The tight-knit community was grappling with a horrifying realization. The face of their town, their neighbor, had been hiding a darkness that defied comprehension. As the community grappled with this revelation, many found themselves questioning the nature of evil and the lengths to which it can go. The trial was a media frenzy. Every day brought with it new revelations, new testimonies, and new horrors. The town was captivated, horrified, yet unable to look away. Kevin's defense attorney tried to paint a picture of doubt, but the evidence was overwhelming. The jury had heard enough. In the end, justice was served. Kevin was found guilty. But for Sarah's family, no amount of justice could bring their daughter back. The town, once a symbol of normalcy, now bore the scars of a nightmare it could never forget. And in the quiet of Sarah's room, her story continues to echo, a reminder of a beauty cut short and a life that could have been.